Hey VC, good morning. It's Glen Kellaway. November 11th in Canada. I guess it's November 11th in a lot of places, but special day. It's Remembrance Day in Canada. I guess a lot of countries have different words for it. In the U.S., it's Veterans Day, and there's Armistice Day, and whatever. But it's a day I like to take a few minutes and give thanks to everyone who served. So thank you. We just did our moment of silence at 11 o'clock. I'd like to show you this photo. This is my father, Howard Kellaway. He passed away in the late 90s at 72 years of age, but served our country in World War II. This picture was taken of him stationed in Italy. My dad was the kindest, gentlest man you'd ever want to meet. I'm surprised that the courage you found to go over there and fight, but I guess that's what you had to do. And he would never talk about it, so that tells me a lot right there. Also want to recognize my father-in-law, Victor Truman, who was a tail gunner in World War II, flying missions from Britain over to the mainland. Imagine being a tail gunner. Oh my God. I don't know if there's anything that would take more courage than that. Victor came back with issues of manic depression after he got back from the war, and I don't know. Feel like that probably caused it. Can you imagine? I don't know. Anyway, we give thanks to both the heroes in our family and to everyone else who serves. Okay, so today I thought I'd kind of get away from talking about actual music, listening to music, and talk about reading about music. I'm a big fan of music biographies. The first biography I ever read, I don't have it to show you, but I can remember it. It's called The True Story of the Beatles, that came out in 1964. And it was, it just told the line. It was real nice and fluffy and told all the nice stuff about the Beatles. In 1968, there was a book that came out by Hunter Davies, and I don't have that anymore, but I'd love to get it in my collection again. The Beatles, the authorized biography by Hunter Davies. This book was fantastic. Hunter was given access to the Beatles, and he made them human. There was swearing in the book, and stories, real stories about their upbringing and stuff, not the pop publicity type stuff. Just loved that book. I'll never forget reading it. I've read it a couple times, and I got to get it in my collection again. But there's a few. I'll start off with the Beatles since we're talking about them. This is an incredible book. Mark Lewison, Tune In. So Mark Lewison is really, I think, the world's authority on the Beatles. He's written a few books. One, Beatles Chronicles, which kind of is like a diary of all the important dates in their history. Beatles Complete Recording Sessions, which is a diary of every minute the Beatles spent in the recording studio. So if you see those books, get them. They're great, great books. But anyway, Mark Lewison, Tune In. This is the first in a series of 3 books. This book covers the Beatles from basically the day they were born to 1962, when they signed their contract with EMI and meet George Martin. The second volume is going to cover 62 to 66, and the third volume from 66 to 70. Very extensive, but well written, like really, you learn about all of their relatives and their upbringing and how they met. It's a real detailed history, but not boring or maudlin at all. It's really, really well written. Great book. I mean, the history of the Beatles is so rich and so much happened. You couldn't write a book of fiction that would match it. So anyway, I highly recommend this if you haven't read it. I believe the second volume we won't see it for another year or two. Mark is just an incredible author. and great book. Tune in. I just read these ones recently. Maximum Volume, The Life of Beatles producer George Martin. The early years. I believe there's a second version of this that goes from 67 up to when he passes. Kenneth Womack, really well written book. George Martin had a pretty interesting life himself. Did a lot of stuff before the Beatles came around, working with comedy teams and trying to develop hit records in Britain on the Parlophone label. But great details about his life with the Beatles, early days, and yeah, great book. Maximum Volume, George Martin. Next, Solid State, the story of Abbey Road and the end of the Beatles. I really enjoyed this book. Same author who wrote the George Martin book. This book really detailed about the recording sessions and whatever for the Abbey Road album. I learned a lot of things from it. Great read. Quick read, it's not that thick. Solid State, story of Abbey Road, the end of the Beatles. Okay, so I'll get away from the Beatles. There's some other books I've just read recently. Jorma Kaukonen, Been So Long. Jorma was the guitarist for the Jefferson Airplane. Great life story, very interesting. His dad was a diplomat, so Jorma lived all over the world as a kid. And amazing guitarist, very eclectic playing. He's a great finger picker, flat picker, psychedelic picker, from the Jefferson Airplane to Hot Tuna. Really interesting life and really good book. Jorma Kaukonen, Been So Long. Jimmy Page, The Definitive Biography. Enjoyed this one too. Written by Chris Salowitz. There's the name there, just in case you're interested. This book is warts and all. Talks a lot about Jimmy's drug abuse, but it gives a very detailed look into Jimmy's life and all his accomplishments. Again, very interesting book. Great read. Jimmy Page. Next, my favorite female singer of all time. This just came out in the last year. Janice by Holly George Warren. I've read probably 3 or 4 books on Janice. There's one written by her sister. There's one, written by friends and whatever. This is the definitive book, I think, because her family was very supportive of this book. There's a lot of, besides telling Janice's incredible story, there's also a lot of family letters and things like that, personal stuff in here. Janice was amazing. She did so much in 27 years, man. She had quite an upbringing and quite a journey. She enjoyed herself and had a lot of demons. Great read. Janice. This is one of the best books I've ever read. I just read it recently. I know it's not new, although they did do a new preface and updated the book. Bill Graham, My Life Inside Rock and Roll. Amazing journey for Bill Graham, his life. He was born in Nazi Germany, and his family had to get him out of there, being of Jewish heritage. That whole story is told in great detail. The life after he left there, his sisters and his mother had to endure. His mother eventually disappeared. We all kind of, I guess when you read the book, you kind of find out what happened. But Bill made a journey through other European countries and eventually made it to New York City and was adopted and then his story from there, how he got involved in music, and his life in music with the Fillmores East and West, and all the tours he promoted with Zeppelin and Stones, his involvement with Woodstock, Altamont. This is a really freaking good book from start to finish. The stories he told about Zeppelin, especially when they had a big fallout in Oakland when Zeppelin got arrested members of Zeppelin got arrested for assault. They assaulted some of Bill's crew. Incredible story, and this is highly, highly recommend this one. Bill Graham presents My Life Inside Rock and Roll. A couple more. These are Volume 1 and Volume 2. Turn, Turn, Turn. The 60s Folk Rock Revolution. And 8 Miles High. Flight from Haight-Ashbury to Woodstock. Written by Richie Unterberger. The first volume is a great history of the folk music scene from the late 50s, early 60s, and its evolution into folk rock, into country rock, into singer-songwriter, into some of the psychedelic rock, over to the influences over in Britain and all the British folk scene with Donovan and Renaissance and Fairport Convention. A lot about the Byrds. Dylan's going electric in Newport. All the talk with Phil Oakes, Judy, all Dave Van Ronk, everybody you could even think that was associated with any of this. This is a very detailed book, but really well written, very entertaining. I learned a ton about music and how it all evolved reading this book. The second goes over the singer-songwriters with a lot on Joni Mitchell. Again, and a lot of the musicians here, there's a lot of their commentary in this book. A lot from Donovan, Melanie. Great reads. Both these books. You got to get them both. Fantastic. That's it. I hope others who are into music biographies could weigh in on this and maybe let me know what your favorites are, because I'm always looking for more. I just ordered 4 more books. I ordered a book on Mick Jagger. I ordered a couple of books on the blues, one just a general history of the blues and one on Robert Johnson in particular, and a book called Altamont, the story of the Altamont Festival. So I'm interested in delving into those. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Peace out, everyone. Love you all. Take care.